And welcome to Light Years. Andy Lou, the Warriors will officially be playing 82 games next season. We found it out today. I wasn't sure if they're going to. Last year they didn't. I know they formally did, but they definitely didn't try in 82. Schedule release. I was kind of surprised how excited I was for it. Maybe it's just because I'm thirsty for Warrior content. I think that's what it's coming down to.
I think it's one of the most anticipated seasons for the Warriors that we've had in a long time. Each season gets more crazy as Steph gets older. And of course, this one, this is as locked in as the Warriors have been since the championship run, right? So I was pumped up, man. I wanted to see if the Warriors could get off to a good start.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So we're going to talk through the schedule. I'm going to share it right now. A couple things pop out to me real quick when I look at this schedule. So 7 of their first 9 are on the road. Given how they played on the road last year, that's kind of scary. But if being honest about it, it's not the toughest road slate. At Sacramento, they're good, but I don't know, Sac, Homer Road, I don't think it matters because basically Bay Area extended anyway, right? It's not like you're flying cross country is my point.
Yep.
And then Houston, New Orleans. I think Houston will be a little better this year, but they'll probably start like a young team. And then New Orleans, who knows? Will Zion be playing then? I don't know. Maybe not. Home for Sacramento, and then OKC, Cleveland, Detroit, at Denver. I can almost guarantee you at Denver at the end of a road trip is an L. Everything else there, if they're locked in, I'm not terrified of that schedule. It's not a hard schedule. It's just road heavy off the bat.
It's going to tell us a lot about, is this team, we're going to find out within the first 10 games, is this team different? First 9 games, is this team different from what it was last season? Because how many times do we talk about the Warriors being freaking terrible on the road last season? And the big problem was team chemistry was terrible. Up and down the roster, it was terrible. I don't care who played well or who didn't play well. They hated each other. So they were always going to be bad on the road because on the road is when you need to have good chemistry to play together, right? So we're going to find out real quick. We're going to find out real quick whether Chris Paul is bought in, I think. That's what the first 9 games tell me. We're going to know right away, Sam, within the first 2 weeks of the season, is Chris Paul bought in? Because if they're on the road and let's say they're closing with Chris Paul, or some games they don't close with Chris Paul and they get out of the stretch 6-3, I'm locked in. This is a real team. This is a real team.
Yeah, I'm looking at that first 9, and if they're 5-4 or 6-3, I think they're going to be 15-5 after the first 20. Because the interesting thing is, yes, they have 2 mini road trips off the bat, 3 games, 4 games, nothing crazy. But 7 of the first 9 on the roads, obviously, you'd prefer to be at home. After that, 8 of the next 11 are at home. And they don't leave the Pacific time zone. Their 3 road games are Phoenix, Sacramento, and LA. So, and the interesting thing is if you extend that all the way until January 12th.
They just keep going down.
They don't fly past Denver. They in the month of December, they have the normal home road split. It's kind of 50-50, a little more home heavy, honestly. But it's the road games are Portland, LA, Phoenix, Denver. Denver's obviously tough no matter what, but it's not a long flight. And so I'm looking at this. You're right. If they get off to a solid start, if they go 4-3 in those first 7 road games, they're not traveling a lot, which I think really matters for an older team and just for chemistry and feeling better. They could easily be 15-5 through that first 20, which gets us to the play-in tournament. They might be 25-7, 26-6, something crazy like that when they finally have to start doing those East Coast road trips starting January 12th. Against Chicago. Very favorable travel in the early months. I think
2 whole months. That's 2 whole months of home games.
Yeah. 2 years ago, how important was that start? They had that 8-game homestand. They went 8-0 on, and they started 18-2, and it really bought them so much cushion when Draymond got hurt, when Steph got hurt, when basically everyone except for Looney got hurt, because Looney is an Iron Man. Yeah. It was so crucial, and like we talked about it on the play-in tournament pod we did a couple days ago. You kind of, the first 20 games tend to matter more than the last 20 games for whatever reason. Teams who come in serious, it's a better predictor of playoff teams than ending hot.
And I do also think some of if you even want to go deeper, some of these back-to-backs are kind of a joke. I mean, they play, like, for example, let's look at these 4 back-to-backs. They start out with New Orleans on the back-to-back, which, again, who knows? Then they've got Minnesota on a back-to-back at home. Who knows? They got some easy back-to-back. Portland on a back-to-back in mid-December. It's like, is Dame even on that team? Portland again on a back-to-back a couple of days later. So it's like they do lead the league in 15 back-to-backs, but you can argue maybe some of those back-to-backs aren't that hard. You would think that the Warriors, if they can sit a couple guys, can even win some of those games. I'm with you. Maybe 25-7 is a little too optimistic for my taste, but I do think people look at those first 10 games and they're like, oh, this is really tough. I'm like, I don't know. Those 2 months look pretty easy.
They were 28-6 when Draymond got hurt 2 years ago and they won a title.
Yep.
I don't know. You're right. If they do something like that, that's beyond best case scenario. Like, honestly, if you're 20-10 after your first 30, I'd consider that pretty successful. As long as you're kind of winning more than you're losing and kind of getting 2 wins for every loss, 3 wins for every loss, that sort of thing, you'll be in fine shape standing wise, and you buy yourself a buffer for, the inevitable Steph ankle sprain or the stuff that happens. You mentioned the back-to-backs. They got 15. I was thinking about this. If they rest Chris Paul and Steph at the same time, I'm going to lose it, because the one thing that having Chris Paul should do for you is, if you have a back-to-back, rest Steph on one half, rest Chris Paul on the other half. You have a Hall of Fame point guard no matter what on both ends of the back-to-back. You have a lot of older vets on this team who you probably don't want playing back-to-backs. You could throw Clay, Draymond into that mix. But if you don't rest them all in the same game, if you do a little like Clay and CP3 are going to rest the front end and Steph and Draymond are going to rest the back end, to your point, a lot of these matchups aren't super tough. You should be able to get it done in the regular season. And that's kind of something I'm a little more excited about. 2 years ago, Poole was able to carry the load. When Steph sat last year, he couldn't. And so back-to-backs were just like an automatic L. That's a big thing.
I would be surprised. Theoretically, that does make sense. You sit Steph 1, you sit Chris Paul 1. It feels like they're more inclined to probably sit everyone 1 and kind of go all out for 1 win and see if, Lester Quinones and Podziemski can just play on the back end. But also last season was kind of a joke and they were extremely unserious. So that's what happened. Maybe this season they actually come in with a more logical plan, like to what you're saying. Also, I think having
it also might help Chris Paul's all right, tonight's your night to you do run the Chris Paul show tonight. So it might be, you could argue he just needs to get used to coming off the bench, and you don't need to placate him with like Chris Paul nights where because they tried to do that with Jordan Poole and it just
Chris Paul nights. Yeah. You're right. I mean, those were called Jordan Poole nights. We should have actually said that when we were doing the shows.
Sure. I don't know. It's kind of, but I think if we're being honest, 7 of the first 9 of the road, that's rough. But if they can just 500-ish through that as they figure their shit out, they got a nice setup to have a nice record once they go kind of on those road trips in January and March and February and those months. If they have an awful first couple of months, I think it's last year repeated, because the schedule only gets tougher and they just really won't have an opportunity to make it up, honestly. So
that's what it is. They'd have to make it up by going on the road. They'd have to claw like they did last season. So now they're going all out. And you can see how tired Clay was and even Draymond was and Jordan at the end of the season, where they've just got no gas left. They're going on the road for all those games in March, right? I mean, you even wrote that. It was a 7-game roadie in late March going into April. And really, like the back half of that schedule looks like they're just it looks like they're just on the road the entire time. So you would think if, like you said, if they jump off to a great start, then it becomes a lot easier in the second half, which is mirroring what it was 2 seasons ago versus what we saw last season, which is they had to just again. I mean, it's just look. Is Andrew Wiggins going to play? Is he going to play? You going to show up?
We saw with Denver last year too, right? Like Denver, I don't want to say they mailed in the last 2 months, but there was a lot of like, we've already clinched the 1 seed. We're just going to chill and, make sure everyone's healthy. Right. Yeah. That would be the best case scenario for the Warriors. Right. Like I'm looking at this, they got 5 games starting January 12th. Then you got, another 4 games in February, another 3-4 game road trip in March. And then that big 7-gamer kind of game 70 to 77 or something around then, late March to early February. You don't want to have to be at that point of the schedule and being like, these are all must wins. You want to be able to be like, all right, Steph, you can sit in Orlando. Chris Paul, you're going to sit for Charlotte. Clay, you could sit for Dallas. We're just going to kind of manage our way through this because we're comfortable with the seed we're in and we're not worried we're going to fall into the play-in.
Yep. I'd rather the Warriors be okay going 2-5 in that roadie instead of having to go 5-2 because that's what we saw last season. Honestly, 3 seasons ago, same thing. It's like they alternate seasons. They alternate.
They've been alternating seriousness.
We're gonna find out first 10 games how serious they're gonna be because if they come out and they go 2-7 or something like that, we're gonna know real quick. Like, hey, it's probably time to trade Chris Paul. It's probably time to, it's time for some big changes. We'll know real fast. They play some decent teams in the beginning. Also, another thought I had looking at the schedule, first 30 games, every single team is good. There's not that many gimme games in the NBA anymore, I don't think. And part of this is just a ton of talent in the NBA. Part of this is the play-in game. How many of these games can you say like they're going to win for certain? Like Detroit's a joke. Detroit and Houston. But I mean, as of right now,
are we even sure Detroit's a joke though? Because they're getting Cade back.
They're too young.
Yeah, they might be last year's OKC. I don't think Wiseman's going to be in their rotation.
Sorry. He's not.
No. I mean, they put out a preview article, and nowhere in the preview is he mentioned as anything that you should be talking about regarding their team. They do feel a year away from maybe being like OKC, who made the play-in. This might be the year that they're like what Orlando was last year, where you're like, hey, if you don't show up, they'll beat you.
Warriors found that out. Actually, the Warriors lost to Detroit, so actually they found out both. I don't know. It feels like a lot of the teams, maybe like 5 bad teams in the NBA. You can just say that those are wins, but dude, outside of that, it's a lot of teams.
I also feel like, you kind of find out 15, 20 games in who's about to mail in the season. Houston, I think, is going to take a step. I don't know if they're going to be good, but I think Udoka, they get a couple veterans. They feel like they're trying to establish something instead of just kind of like chucking and losing 65 games, right? But I don't know. It could be the same old, and they could just fall into that same habit 15 games in and be awful. And then that's where Udoka goes to the front office and he's like, trade these jokers. You drafted the wrong players, So I don't know.
Let me read you the last couple. No, I agree. Let me read you the last couple games that the Warriors have for the entire season. And you throw these games in the beginning of the season could be completely different. They're at Orlando, at Charlotte, at San Antonio, at Dallas, at Houston. Those could all be tanking teams by the end of the season. And then you've got Portland, New Orleans, Utah. Those could also be losing teams by the end of the season. Those aren't going to be losing teams in the beginning of the season. They're going to be trying their best. But come March and April, those teams might be 20 games under 500 and just saying, screw it.
You never know. Yeah.
Trying to get Cooper Flag or whoever it is. That's the number 1 pick.
One more year.
Yeah, whoever it is, that's the number 1 pick. I don't know who it is.
What was I going to say? Or it could be the opposite way. Like, I think Dallas will be good this year. So I don't want to, I think they'll be good this year. I think they're going to be I think they'll make the playoffs. I think they'll be above the play-in. That's my take right now.
Ugh.
But they also, let's put it this way. They strike me as a team who probably has to win that game. So that could be a tough game. But to your point, who knows if they repeat last year, they'll go into that game with the mindset of we need to lose this game to get our draft pick. Could go either way. Could really go either way. That's kind of, it's not really worth looking at anything other than the early part of the schedule because you don't know how they're going to play out.
Yep.
Cool. You mentioned 15 back-to-backs, most in the league. Kind of annoying, but the truth of the matter is when you're on the West Coast, you tend to get a little shafted schedule-wise. I don't know how else to put it. It's just there's more teams on the East Coast. Just gets a little tougher. I got one thing to call out, though.
Yeah.
You know who has the most national TV games?
Of course.
More than the Lakers. Wow.
Course.
41 for the Warriors. If you subtract NBA TV games, they still have more. I think they have 22 or 23, and the Lakers have one less. Does it surprise you that the Warriors have the most national TV games?
So you're telling me Steph beat out the dual combo of both LeBron and the LA Laker fan base? That is, I gotta say, man, that is impressive. You're looking at this this picture here. I feel bad for the Nuggets. 30 games. That's it. Defending champs, best player in the world. 30 games. But you've got a lot of teams. I mean, the Warriors and the Lakers got to be the top. LeBron's been the biggest draw with Steph for a decade now. The Suns are up there, though.
They are up there. You want to know why? Steph drew more than LeBron in this one?
Tell me. Oh, my God.
Men lie. Women lie. Numbers don't. The ratings speak for themselves. I'm sorry, Bron. You're an all-timer, but you're not number 30.
Yeah.
Let's get that back up there.
Not a single player more entertaining to watch in any facet of any basketball than Steph Curry. It's amazing. At least they've got. I mean, these are the most fun teams to watch if you're a casual NBA fan, right? If you're just
combo of fun plus competitive. I don't know. We'll Suns make sense. Celtics make sense. Yep. Nuggets, Bucks make sense. I don't know if there's really anyone who got snubbed there who I'm thinking, I saw teams like the Kings got 20 some games, so they're sneaking up and they deserve to be on national TV a little more. It kind of mirrors what I expected. I don't know how else to put it. Nothing crazy.
Hey, the Warriors on Christmas, by the way, got the 11:30 game against the Nuggets.
12:30. Sorry,
12:30. What? Yeah. They got the noon game, so they didn't get the night game. We thought they'd get the night game, so I think that's cool. The Niners play at 5, right? Or am I wrong? To all the parents of toddlers, game is during nap time. Sorry. That's a take I wouldn't have had on the pod 7 years ago. That's for sure. But that is an adult food coma nap time as well too, though. That's when I've drank too much and I gotta get back to life. You know what I mean? 10 a.m.
Oh, that's the 5 p.m. game for me. So my Christmas. Let's talk this one through. Christmas, the noon game is when the liquor starts flowing.
Mm.
I can't justify having drinks at 11 a.m. in front of family. The judgmental looks come out. Okay, but once lunch has happened, there's some drinking, you're watching the games, and then the 2:30 game, the two best games are always that 12 and the 2:30, right?
Yes.
That's like that's prime time, whatever you want to call it. And you get into it, and then the 5 o'clock is what I would consider nap time.
Yep.
And that's when I've had 5 meals, even though it's not even dinner time, and 15 cocktails. And I just need to lie down for a little bit. And then I'll wake up and it's like Kings versus something at 8:15. I'm like, oh, kind of into this, That's kind of the thing. A little different this year, though, because Niners play at 5.
Yes,
so you need to be lucid during the phone coma.
Yeah, you cannot mess around, dude. Brock, Sam might be throwing picks left and right. Come 6 o'clock, you got to be awake for that. But
Steve Young 2.0, baby.
Thank goodness. I mean, the Warriors, we thought maybe would get that 7 o'clock game for a second. That would have been rough. Just I'm not even. There's no way I'm sober by then. So good for them. They did 11:30. Celtics Lakers makes a lot of sense.
I was a little peeved they were going to put the defending champs and the biggest draw at 7:30. I was like, come on.
Sixers
Mostly because
makes so much sense at 5. It makes so much sense.
Yeah, that's nap time, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Ugh.
And then Dallas, Phoenix, 7:30. I can get with that. That makes sense, Y'all, Luka yelling at KD and Booker. I'm into it,
Yeah, it's a good one.
So
it's a good one.
I'm into it. I wanted to ask you this. I forgot. So first 20 games, 7 of the first 9 on the road, 8 of the next 11 at home, and they don't leave the Pacific time zone. What is your prediction for the Warriors' record through 20 games?
13-7.
Ooh.
So I'm going to say they're going to struggle on the road to start. I'm going to say I said 6-3. I think they're going to fall closer to 4-5, maybe 5-4, optimistically. But to your point, like after
not
that,
3-7, please.
Again, but after that, they go Minnesota back-to-back, Oklahoma back-to-back, Houston, and then at Phoenix, San Antonio. Like it gets so much easier that I think they start making a little bit of a run and pull away. So I'm going 13-7 in their first 20, and then like you said, that's when the real fun begins. The next 10 or 20 after that.
I'm going 15-5. I'm feeling pretty optimistic about the schedule. Maybe I'm in a good mood. Maybe I'm just becoming a positive guy. Everyone tells me I'm negative and I hate the Warriors and I just do things for clout and all sorts of lies, which I always think is hilarious because you know me better than anyone. None of that's not how I operate. But anyway, I'm looking at the schedule. Okay. Phoenix opening night, they'll win. Sacramento, I think they're going in to win. They're going to split the first back-to-back Houston, New Orleans, 3-1. Sacramento, I'm calling another win, 4-1. OKC, Cleveland, Detroit, Denver. I'm going 2-2 there. I think they're 6-3, and they're feeling really good about that. Now they come home. 6-3 turns into a 9-2 homestand. 15-5. That's my prediction. These aren't the easiest games, but I think everything I've heard from the Warriors, Steph Curry, Steve Kerr, Klay Thompson. Have you seen the Klay Thompson workout videos, by the way? Looking good. Looking like he's playing some pickup. He didn't play pickup last summer. Let's be honest. He didn't.
Nope.
Draymond, I know he's reading every negative tweet and just using it as fuel because he's a psychopath. I think they're going to come out hot. We'll see how the whole season plays out. We'll see how the Chris Paul thing plays out. But I feel very positive that this team knows they threw away a golden opportunity last year. And I think they're going to come out hot this year. That's my prediction. I'm calling 15-5. Got to get friend of the show, Trista, to troll me on that one so I can rub it in her face when it happens.
Oh, man. My pushback to that would be the Warriors workout videos are starting to look like the I am in the best shape of my life training camp quotes that come out. They're starting to look like Hoodie Mellow. And this came to me when I was watching Klay and Kevin Love and these guys play against guys that I've never seen before. I watched Kuminga play against guys that I literally play against in my pickup leagues. And I'm kind of like, how much do these actually matter? I get we want to be happy and that they're locked in, but it's starting to look like this is what washed up players post on social media to try to get signed by NBA teams type of. So I'm just throwing it out there, Sam. I'm just throwing it out there. Not saying the Warriors are washed, but anytime you got to throw stuff on social media repeatedly.
Who would have thought I'd be the more forever Warriors guy?
That is true. I'm just
the minute the games start, if Klay starts throwing up garbage, it's gonna be a complete flip. You're gonna be a little more sensitive for him. Now I'm gonna be like, trade him now.
Well, that's what happened last season. I mean, that's exactly what I'll always be like. I can't get rid of those guys for anything, which is funny because I'll have Klay's like childhood friend DM me from left and right about how mad he is. I'm like, I love Steph. What are we talking about here, guys? But anyway, these videos, they don't move me as much as maybe they should, Sam. But we'll see. Maybe we'll see Klay drop 60 points in the Black Ops pickup game.
I'm more moved by the way they're talking. Yeah, you're correct. I'm not moved by an out of context pickup clip. Like, newsflash, every NBA player can look good because they're the best in the world. It doesn't, that's not moving me. Now, You know what is moving me? Some real basketball. Newest Warrior, Dario Saric, 12 assists in his FIBA qualifier here, in his warm-up game. 12 assists for future forever Warrior Dario Saric. What'd you think? I know you saw the clip. I know you threw up some tweets about it. What'd you think watching Dario run the break as a point guard?
Love him. I love him. I'm going to love him. I'm going to love Dario Saric. He is going to be one of my favorite players this season. You will have to talk me out of the Warriors closing games with him. Is seriously how I love him. I guarantee you, I would rather have Saric closing games than CP3 at some point next season. I guarantee you that. To me, watching this clip, I didn't watch the game, I'm not gonna lie to you, but it feels like he's gonna be like a Bielitsa type, but probably a lot better actually. Now that I think about it, he's not as good of a shooter, but he's gonna be a better ball handler. He's gonna be a better playmaker / distributor. He's gonna be a better finisher. Defensively, we'll see, but I just think he's gonna be able to
better
do so much
defensively than 34-year-old Belly. I think we forget about that. We got
moving his feet a little bit. But yeah, he wasn't great. He wasn't great.
Can't ask for more, but we got like Belly it was the last year of his NBA career. There's no way around.
He just wanted a championship. I mean, he could still play in the league, but he just wanted a chip. That's it.
He's 5 years older than Dario is right now. My big takeaway watching it is he looks healthy. Remember over the summer we had Spike Eskin on. We talked Dario. You guys can go check out that episode if you didn't catch it back in the day. It's easy to forget how good the player was when he was younger. Like, he was a point forward. I would say passing, honestly, is probably more impressive than shooting for him. I agree with you. He could shoot the ball. Don't get me wrong. But you don't find 6'10 guys who play center who can pass like him outside of course, the Jokic's of the world, which is like one of one, right? Like, he's a legit point forward. He's grown into being a center. Obviously going to be a perfect fit for the Warriors system-wise. To me, watching these, he just looks healthy. What's set him back in the NBA and what has him on a veteran minimum? Injuries. His game might be a little more like Bielitsa, but his story is a little more like Otto Porter.
I was going to guess, there is
same
a lot
age,
of Otto.
Same age. He's a $15 million player, $20 million maybe.
Yes.
If he puts together multiple healthy years, but just hasn't happened for him. And that's a rough break. Sometimes it goes that way for players. And, I think he's going to be huge for the Warriors. I agree with you. I do think he's going to close some games, and I do think he's the right piece to separate Draymond and Looney, because now you got another smart forward who can play Warriors basketball and probably is smart enough to just figure out enough stuff on defense, and that's exactly what they need.
Second round postseason next year, Steve Kerr will insert Dario Saric at the 5/4 right next to Draymond, along with Steph, Clay, and Wiggins. And everyone would be like, changing the starting lineup. And it's like, no, this is just the new version of Otto Porter playing the 4, or Andre Iguodala, or last year they did it with Jordan Poole, which was not what you want. If you want to win playoff games, you cannot play a guy that can only play one side, and he wasn't even playing one side of the court, right? So this is more like what the Warriors need, is what I'm trying to say. This is more the type of player that the Warriors have won with versus what we saw last season.
And I think the combo of him and Chris Paul will make the game so much easier for Kuminga. They don't need Kuminga to be a ball handler or a playmaker. They just need him to slash. They got a big who can pass. They obviously got a point guard in Chris Paul who can pass. He could just be a cutter. He can play the de facto role. Iguodala definitely can pass. He can play the de facto role that Wiggins plays, right? Like, you're not asking Wiggins to do anything other than catch and shoot, cut, and finish. So I think it's great. I think he looks good. I'm super excited about him. I mean, we celebrated signing him like it was Kevin Durant, which is probably a little over the top, but I'm excited. His skill set exactly fits what they need, and sometimes getting the player with the right skill set's better than just getting more talent, as we learned last year.
Yeah, I wonder. So Otto got 5 per after the rehabilitation year with the Warriors. Dante got 10?
6.
11?
6, yeah.
Dante didn't get 6. You're saying Otto got 6?
Otto got 6, yeah.
Yeah, Dante got 11 off the top of my head, 12, something like that.
Full mid-level, 11, yeah.
I wonder what Sarge gets after the season. So I just think it's a cool sidebar because he'll play well and he'll be healthy, like you said, and maybe he'll get 10 plus after the season. He's still young, so that's cool, man. Cool, he's playing well.
Absolutely. All right, we'll leave it there. Appreciate everyone. Great evening.